Welcome back to Trending in Education. Mike Palmer here. Mike Palmer's audio is here, and very happy to have you as a listener. I'm joined by Evan Gappelberg, who's the founder and CEO of NexTech AR Solutions. We're going to talk about augmented reality. That's why I mentioned it was just my audio before. But we'll talk about all the dimensions of presence and interactive media and really fascinating stuff. Try to think about the learning applications of it. But to begin, I want to welcome Evan to the show. Evan, welcome to Trending in Education.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. It's been a tumultuous year for sure for all of us. And one of your claims to fame around the NexTech AR Solutions is you were the first publicly traded augmented reality pure play. So you're a real expert in the space of augmented reality. It's been a tumultuous year, but I was thinking about it. We recently did a show on emerging trends based on Gartner's hype cycle. And we were talking about how a lot of consumer technology is going to be dialing in on things like AR so that you can have a more rich, immersive experience without having to leave your home. So obviously the pandemic is tragic and terrible on a lot of fronts, but I imagine in terms of augmented reality technology, it's probably been a driver, an accelerant in some ways to some of the trends around AR. So I'd love to get some of your perspective on that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. In 2018, I came up with this back of the napkin idea that augmented reality was going to be the next big thing. And my background being Wall Street, I'm always looking for the next big thing. That's how you make money in the stock market, right? Finding trends. And so combine the idea of the next big thing with taking the next big thing public.
Right.
And so I was able to get that done in Q4 of 2018. The stock was cents. It was a penny stock when we started. And this year we hit a high of $10 per share, which is a parabolic move. That is very uncommon. And it didn't happen on light volume. It happened with millions of shares trading. And so why did that happen? Well, you mentioned tough year, the pandemic. Yes, the pandemic is a very, very difficult year for people that have gotten sick or people that know people that got sick. Difficult year for travel and tourism, restaurants, very, very difficult financially. But then you have the other side of the equation where some industries actually benefited from this pandemic. And my business, meaning NexTech AR Solutions, as a company, has benefited greatly. For technology, you basically we have an e-commerce division, which uses augmented reality, basically a digital twin of the product where you could take the product off the screen or out of your phone and place it in the room with you and see what it looks like, right? I mean, that's what augmented reality does. It gives you that try before you buy kind of feel. And so when you think about people shopping, everybody started shopping at home. Right? Because the pandemic, you can't go out. And so e-commerce saw 10 years worth of growth in 3 months.
Wow.
Think about what I just said. 10 years worth of growth. Imagine a baby that grows
to my goodness.
A 10-year-old in 3 months. You're like,
oh my God. My 2-year-old's growing fast enough. But it's difficult, I imagine, just managing against being too celebratory around the pandemic. But the reality is you're providing, the augmented reality is, you see what I did there? That you're providing tools that are helping people navigate the new normal, which is more likely at home. And can you describe a little bit about the different examples? There's an e-commerce one. Because I think we're going to probably want to move also outside of the marketing and e-commerce use cases, focus a little more on the educational use case, because that's where the technology can be transformative and can really drive some breakthroughs in very interesting ways. So I'd love to get into some of those contexts on the learning side, but can you just paint a picture, broad brush about the different areas you focus on?
Yeah, so in 2019, we were just in the e-com space, right? E-commerce and augmented reality work really well together.
Yep.
You could look at IKEA, They're one of the leaders. You can look at House. They're another leader. Wayfair. You go on to these big e-com site owners. They've built their own augmented reality technology into their platform.
Right.
What we did different is we built the AR tech for everybody else.
Right.
People that couldn't afford to build it themselves.
Yep.
I basically raised a couple $1 million, raised another 5 million, raised another, I kept raising money so that I could fund this augmented reality platform called ARitize.
I see.
And think of it as Xerox, like I'm going to ARitize a product, right?
It's augmented reality as a service.
That's right. And so we went out to brands and we started offering augmented reality as a service, and they'd pay us like a monthly subscription kind of thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
And we also launched an app called ARitize 360, which puts the power of content creation into your hands. So you could download this app, ARitize 360. If you have a light box and your phone, you can put your, let's say your shoe or your pocketbook into the light box on the turntable. 3 minutes later, you've captured the video and you load it into our platform, and like magic, we turn that into a 3D AR asset.
Very cool.
And so that's one piece of our tech stack. So that was in 2019, we were building that. And then 2020 rolls around and we had just created a 3D AR ad network. And that was going to be the next big thing for us, right? An ad network using 3D and AR. But then the pandemic hit.
Right.
And when the pandemic hit, I was sitting in my office. I remember thinking to myself, what are we going to do? Like the whole world was falling apart. The stock market was collapsing. Everything the world was on fire. Right. And I had remembered that I was introduced to a guy who had this video training platform. It basically he had two clients, Johnson & Johnson and Polycom and Viacom, 3 clients, sorry. And it was training, right? It was like Johnson & Johnson comes out with a new widget, right? And so
so sales training, service training, that kind of stuff.
Using video. Okay. So I'm sitting in my office and I'm remembering this conversation, and I remember these guys really were struggling a bit. It wasn't easy getting new clients. So, I wonder if we could turn that platform into a Zoom type of thing, use it for online education for kids in school. Why not, right? And so I put my tech team in touch with their tech team, and they came back and said, yeah, we can pivot this into education and technology. I'm like, hey, could we integrate our augmented reality into it? My tech team says, sure. Do anything you want. They always say yes.
Well, you keep raising the funding, they'll keep saying yes.
Right. So we acquired this platform called Jalokia April 30th of 2020.
Oh,
right?
Wow. Okay.
The pandemic.
Yeah.
I'm doing a deal. And we get it done and we pivot the platform towards virtual conferences, virtual events, and online universities and education.
Sure. Yeah.
And we integrate our augmented reality in it. And like magic.
Yeah, I bet.
It took off, right? Where the business was doing like $1 million in revenue for the previous 12 months.
Right.
And now we're doing $1 million a month.
Right. Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And growing.
Right.
And
Sure.
Exponentially. And our augmented reality for the classroom has huge applications. We landed our first major college, major university up in Toronto, a university called Ryerson University. They have almost 50,000 students there. It's not a small.
Nice. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. It was a big deal for us. It still is.
Yeah.
So they contracted us to deliver 20 AR labs for them and chemistry. And so you'll have like the microscope and amoeba, and it's all virtual. You're experiencing this at home.
Right.
It's real.
Right.
You're seeing the microscope on your kitchen table. You're seeing amoeba,
Yeah. It's like Pokemon Go, but you're doing homework. Like you're actually doing your schoolwork. Yeah.
And kids love it. The real takeaway is forget the money part. Forget that there's a business here.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, I remember going to school. I remember labs were fun. Of
Yeah.
course, you know,
Yeah.
those were like the most fun because you're
Right.
interacting with your buddy
Yeah.
and and
Especially
there,
when you can blow things up. If you did have the opportunity to do a little bit of that, and doing it virtually is safer, you know?
right,
So yeah, sold. Yeah.
right. And so yeah, so you can't interact anymore. And
Hmm.
that's why the lab. Now, as time goes on though,
Hmm.
the feedback we're getting is that the future is going to be a hybrid.
I think so.
Yeah, there'll be some augmented reality
Yeah.
experiences. And if you think about it, when Apple comes out with the glasses,
Hmm.
where you'll be wearing a pair of eyeglasses, not
Hmm.
like VR goggles, they look
Yeah.
like reading glasses.
Transparent mostly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you and I can have a conversation in
Hmm.
person
Hmm.
and walk around. And I have my AR glasses on, you have your AR
Yeah.
glasses on, and there's AR experiences popping off
Yeah. And
around.
I mean, we'll probably, if we're feeling frisky, we pop in our cochlear implants so that we're getting audio fed at the same time. Yeah, no, it's what I love about having someone like you on as a guest is like, these are the topics we've talked about all the time, but we haven't actually had a practical, it's actually happening now. There's a
Yes.
business here. And
Yeah.
I got to say, I'm not surprised at the uptake on the education side. Obviously, the pandemic's been a forcing function, but I think frequently we collectively are focused so much on the marketing and sales side that the really great innovations and new technologies are almost over indexed on that side. And in some ways, we've starved the learning experience until something like the pandemic allows
Right.
for the adoption to be so great. Let's try to build it in. But
Yeah.
I got to imagine kids stuck at home, bouncing off the walls, sitting through Zoom lecture after Zoom lecture after Zoom
Yep.
lecture,
Yep.
or conversely, parents and kids thinking about where do we want to go to college,
Yep.
university, what kind of online program are they going to have? Is it engaging enough so that worst case scenario, we have to be fully online? Is it still going to be
Yeah.
really compelling? So I can see the value prop that you're tapping into there.
Yeah. Think about the kid in grade school. I mean, do you remember the woolly mammoth?
Yeah,
I remember the woolly mammoth. I don't know
sure.
why. I remember, oh my God, like
Yeah,
buried in the ice for
yeah,
millennia. And
sure.
all of a sudden they find this woolly mammoth, this
Yeah,
giant elephant, like, hairy elephant with these
yeah.
giant tusks, right? So I was able to see it in my mind's eye because
Hmm.
I'm kind of creative in that
Yeah,
way.
right.
But imagine being able to put that woolly mammoth in the
Yeah.
classroom
Hmm.
with the kids,
Yeah,
right? And the
totally.
kids, it's there. It's no longer in my mind's
Yeah,
eye. It's in the classroom, and the
right.
teacher's teaching me about it,
Hmm.
and I'm learning, and it's sticking to my brain because that's
Right,
how we learn, right? Through
right.
storytelling and
Sure.
experiencing.
Hmm.
And so you can even just go to the Constitution of the United States, right? You want to
Hmm.
see that,
Yeah,
and you could literally be seeing a virtual version of it. Every student can
yeah,
have one at
yeah.
their desk, and the teacher's teaching you about the Constitution.
Hmm.
I remembered very little about what I learned in school because the teachers are going through the motion.
Yeah,
There's 30, 40, 50 kids in a class. Like, how much can they really teach you? How much
right.
sticks, right?
Hmm.
I feel like this solves a lot of that problem
Yeah,
where the students actually are going to be interested and they're interacting and it's immersive
yeah,
and sticky
yeah.
and it's a better way of learning. It's kind of like the evolution
Yes,
of learning.
right.
And that's how I look at it. And so I'm super gratified to be part of that. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
took a pandemic
yeah,
for it
yeah.
to happen,
Right.
you know, but I'll take it. If
Right.
that's what it took, you can make lemons out of lemonade out of lemons. Do you see the glass half empty or half full kind of
Right.
thing?
Well, I mean, there's the progress, full stop, right? There are things that are going to be genuinely better in light of behavior patterns that are powered by technology in new ways. And at the same time, I do think there will be a trend towards going to national parks and being offline.
Yeah, yeah,
But not everybody's going to be able to do that. And then, especially as this technology becomes democratized, which is the other part that I like about the as a service, and rather than only being developed at the really high end or through the biggest technology companies, the idea that this could be done in a way that is more of an empower to small education companies, to universities, to even just educators, where I have a grant. I can spend a little bit of money on technology. Could I get access to this tech so that I could then build out some of this stuff? And then I imagine over time, would you envision like an ecosystem of pre-built assets too that can be used by
Absolutely.
different educators? Could you talk a little more about that?
You are right on. You're spot on. So that's exactly the end game, is that to create the 3D asset is the trick. How do you actually create it at scale?
Yeah.
And so we've been working on that tech. The industry's been working on it. 5G is a big part of delivering the experience, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
At scale,
Yeah, yeah.
in the classroom, like we were talking about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But you need to have a library of 3D assets to pull on to be
Mm-hmm.
able to ultimately deliver on this dream AR world. And so we're
Mm-hmm.
not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
The tech just isn't there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's close. Like
Right,
it's knocking at the door.
right.
It's literally right there. It's
Yeah,
just hasn't entered the room yet, kind of,
right, right.
the LiDAR in phones, the latest and greatest phones, some of them have it, most of them don't. But
Mm-hmm.
over the next 3-year cycle, they'll all have it.
Mm-hmm.
Once that happens, everybody will be a creator. Your
Mm-hmm.
phone will allow you to create 3D assets
Yeah,
and AR experiences, and the library will just mushroom,
yeah.
overnight.
And are you looking for creators like early adopters to help sort of figure out how to design this stuff? That is an interesting space. Are you looking, because even Ryerson is one university, or like
Yeah,
who
they're
who on the
really
learning side like how are you thinking about the learning side of what you're doing growing?
Yeah, so we're talking. We landed Carnegie Mellon
Mm-hmm.
as a client,
Mm-hmm.
and they're using our video conferencing platform right now
Yeah,
on campus. But you're right; it's all about these early adopters, these pioneers.
yeah.
Carnegie Mellon has not stepped into the augmented reality
Yep.
world with us yet,
Mm-hmm.
but they're circling the wagons.
Sure. Yeah.
When Ryerson is the pioneer, the one that
Sure.
kind of stepped in
Yeah.
and jumped in really head first with us.
Right.
And we're building these labs with them, with
Mm-hmm.
their students. But ultimately, our plan with them is to give their students the tools so that Ryerson can build their own AR
Yeah.
experiences,
Right. It's a platform. Right.
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So their students are learning Unity, which is the programming language.
Mm-hmm.
You can use our plugin,
Mm-hmm.
and they could build the experiences on our platform,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how it can scale,
Yeah.
and go to a whole nother level. And so we're in the early days. It's just
Yeah.
right, just
Yeah.
starting,
No, it's a
and
crazy
it's
run you've been on so far too. Yeah, yeah. But so that's really interesting also just to be thinking about for our listeners who are interested in instructional design. Play with your head up. Look for the new and emerging technologies, because even just some passing understanding of something like augmented reality may be a real differentiator for you on an interview. If you're trying to impress someone and say, I'm really staying up on top of what's going on, I was able to use this technology. And then if folks want to learn more about any of this, Evan, where would you recommend that they go?
So if you go to NexTech AR, NexTechAR.com,
Mm-hmm.
we have our website is jam packed and
Mm-hmm.
loaded with content. We put videos out demoing the AR experience. So there's this higher education video that shows the virtual learning environment, the
Yeah.
augmented reality lab. So you could go online and find all that
Mm-hmm.
on our website. There's a lot of videos that we've created,
Yeah.
which is the content that people can browse and kind of
Awesome.
really understand it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So that's awesome. That's amazing. Good luck. It sounds like you're really just beginning to take off, and in
Yeah.
many ways, we're all virtually along with you in an augmented rocket ship. So that's all amazing. But one of the other things that I always like to do when I have a guest on, and particularly someone like yourself, I'd love to hear your perspective. Is outside of what we talked about so far, what do you see emerging that might be one or two generations ahead? What's capturing your imagination, whether it's applications of augmented reality or new technologies that are versions of AR? or new and emerging things that are just capturing your imagination. You're clearly someone who keeps an eye on where things are heading. I quote Gretzky, skating to where the puck is going all the time on the show. So as someone who's done that for a living to great effect, what's capturing your imagination these days? What do you see on the horizon?
So this is a 10-year, multi-trillion dollar, it's really a multi-decade, multi-trillion dollar megatrend that's unstoppable.
Yeah.
So there really, I am the new thing guy, right? But we're at the dawn of this new, it's not an industrial revolution, it's a technological revolution.
It's almost like a user experience revolution.
Well, I think of it like this. I think it's really spatial computing, right? So what is that? It basically means that your environment is a computer.
Right.
Imagine that. It just kind of blows your mind. It's not like a computer that sits on your lap or your desk or even that you hold in your hand. The environment is going to be a touch environment. Yeah. And your desk will be like your keyboard. Right. And you'll be wearing glasses, and the entire world around you will be interactive.
Yeah, I got to work on my dance moves in the way you're describing this. Yeah. That's probably just a good thing in general. Why not work on your dance moves, right? Yeah.
Why not? It's all good fun. So I feel like the world is just you're having a convergence of AI, AR, the Internet of Things, 5G. Yeah. All these things are edge computing, cloud computing. They're all converging, and they're creating this spatial computing wonderland. Yeah. And I look at it, if you remember the 90s with the internet, the birth of the internet, where you had these multi-billion-dollar businesses just sprung up overnight, seemingly. Yeah. And new industries. Look at Amazon today. Everybody uses Amazon. Amazon's relatively new. For sure. Yeah. And even so, that's where I feel we are today in 2020. This is the dawn of a new era where all these technologies are converging, and augmented reality is just one piece. It's a big piece, but it's one piece. It's not exclusive. It's dependent on this ecosystem. All these other technologies that kind of survive and thrive off of themselves and each other. Right. And create this kind of flywheel effect where it's just feeding off of each other. And ultimately, it's exciting, but it's also a little bit concerning because technology can get away from you. Yeah, right, Like, I was on an electric scooter the other day. I'm big into electric scooters, right? Yeah. And this thing had a gyroscope. It was actually like the Segway. It's like a home Segway, okay? And I was like in the zone. Okay. I was like going around my car, zip, cutting turns. I was really feeling it.
Do we have any video of this, Evan? I know it's a podcast, but I'd love to,
I'm telling you, I felt like I was at one with this thing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Until it threw me off.
Ooh.
Until I literally leaned a little far forward. Put my foot down. As soon as I did that, it was game over. The gyroscope started to push against my foot's trying to stop, and the gyro pushing, and guess who won? The gyroscope. And so I was like, all of a sudden launched onto the cement.
So wear a helmet? Is that the takeaway? It's like.
No, the takeaway is that technology is in control, not us. I thought I was in control, right? That's what my point was, is that I'm in control, I got this, right? It's my toy kind of is like owning you, and you're just playing with it, but then technology has a way of getting away from us, is what I'm saying. We're very comfortable with it until it bites us. Yes. Till it throws us. Right. And that's what concerns me a little bit, is that AI there's going to be a moment in time where we're not the smartest species on the planet.
We talk about this all the time. We'll have to get you back on to talk more about the robot apocalypse, or not the robot apocalypse. Who knows, right? Like who knows? But also the interesting point just to make in what you're saying there too is, It does take a lot of work to get out ahead of the trend to actually build it so that it doesn't break. So even the amount of work that was put into your gyroscope and such so that it felt as good as it did, it's now going to have to get better because that's how you learn. Actually, that's how the technology gets better. So it's another testimony to the early adopters and the pioneers, where you got to get out there and use the stuff to make it better. So there is, and I love the visuals are still running through my mind. So thank you for all that. We're coming up on time, Evan. This has been amazing. But any concluding thoughts? Any final messages for myself or our listeners before we head on our merry way?
All I would say to your merry listeners is that NexTech AR Solutions is my baby. Mm-hmm. The single largest shareholder. Haven't sold any stock. I continue to buy. Why do I continue to buy? Even though it's up an enormous amount. Why am I not cashing in my chips? Why? Because there's a multi-decade, multi-trillion-dollar megatrend, and NexTech is going to ride that wave.
Nice.
That's it. I'll leave you from that.
Yeah. All right. And I think for our learning listeners out there, some virtual thinking homework for you. How do you want to apply augmented reality in your classrooms, in your learning labs? Pretty interesting use case that Evan brought up there. Thanks as always for listening. Thank you, Evan, for joining. And we'll be back again soon on Trending in Education.
Great. Thank you.